good turning radius. The car definitely sits much nicer, but out on the road too, the car feels really good. Hey guys, welcome to Red 50. Today we have the 2024 Mustang GT on lowering springs that we're going to be reviewing. This one's got the SR Performance lowering springs, and it sits much nicer than what I remember when this car was stock. My car is also lowered on INSTA Sport Progressive, so I can give you a little bit impression of how the S550 drive with lowering springs versus the S650. So let's take a look at the gap between the wheels now, and also how the car sits. I think the car sits just amazing with these lowering springs. This one has the 1-inch drop in the rear and 1.5-inch drop in the front, versus mine is 1.1 in the front and 1 inch in the back. So rear should be pretty similar, so I'm going to compare the wheel gap between both cars as well. But the front should be a little bit more on this car. The tires are 275 40/19s and mine is 285 35/19. So let's take a look how the car sits. And you can see the stance on this car is so good. Look at that. Wheel gap in the front is pretty much gone. You've got some wheel gap, but it's actually not that bad looking. And you don't want it to be completely slammed because it's not gonna be a comfortable drive. We're gonna take it out for a spin too to see how she drives. But let's take a look at the difference with the springs. So let's go ahead on the rear. Rear's supposed to be 1-inch drop. And if I was to I can get 3 fingers in pretty much, as you can see right here. 2.5 maybe. And then front is definitely going to be less because I can already tell just by looking at it, it's a lot lower. So let's see. Yeah, 2 is like a tight fit. Yeah, 3 I can't do it. So you definitely got a little bit more lowering on the front, as they kind of claim with these SR Performance lowering springs. 2 fingers what I got in there. So, but let's compare it to my car to see how it compares. So let's go ahead. And these are INSTA springs. This also should be, this is actually a little bit tighter. I can barely squeeze a couple fingers in, whereas here I can pretty much get 2, yeah, almost 3. So even though they both claim 1-inch drop for the INSTA Sport Progressive and the SR Performance, the INSTA ends up being a little bit lower, and that could be maybe my tire setup. But let's compare the front real quick. I think front's going to be about the same. And if you get the 1 finger, and 2 is a little bit of a squeeze, as you can see right here. So 1.5 or so, versus this one is going to be 2 easily, but you can't really do 3. So just 2 fingers. So even though they claim a bigger drop with 1.5 versus 1.1 in the front, 1 is 1 inch on the INSTA, 1 inch on the SR Performance in the back, I feel like the S550 is a little bit lower, or at least the INSTA springs are a little bit lower. And I don't know if that's because the S650 just sits a little bit higher from the factory. Probably not the case here, but the S550 definitely feels a little bit lower. But when you're looking at it, I mean, just looking at both cars from here, you really can't tell the difference. They both look really good. They both got really good stance on them. So whatever performance springs you go with, whether it's INSTA or the SR Performance, they look really good. So we're gonna be trying out the car. We're gonna take it out for a spin to see how it drives, not only in terms of just performance, how it feels, but also if it's a little too uncomfortable, or maybe a little bit more comfortable, because my car is a little bit bigger drop than this one, even though they claim about the same. So I'm excited to take this car on the road too, to see how the springs are gonna feel out on the road when you're daily driving this car. You know, you're doing your commute, you're just enjoying the car and not really pushing it too much. Does it get too uncomfortable? Does it ride good? How is the performance handling? If you want to push the car, can you actually enjoy this car? And we're gonna have a comparison with my S550, because I've had my car lowered for, I want to say, almost 3 years now. So I'm just used to driving this. So I kind of know what that feels like. So I'm excited to see how the S650 is going to compare with the lowering springs as well. He's got SR Performance, I've got INSTA, and it's S650 versus S550. So there's a lot of different variables. I'm not making a comparison between the brands themselves, but really it's a comparison of how the car looks on the SR Performance and how it drives compared to the S550 Mustang on lowering springs as well. It is worth noting you are going to need to get the alignment after With this, he said he had to get the camber bolts. With mine, we just went the standard alignment, but for this one, you needed to get the camber bolts to really align it properly. So if you lower your car, regardless of whatever springs, if you're an S550 platform or S650, you're gonna need to get the alignment after. And in some instances, like in his instance, you're gonna need the camber bolts. So make sure you do that to get the car properly aligned. And I mean, just look at how she looks. This is really good how it looks. I love the look of a lowered Mustang. It makes it very aggressive, and you can clearly see that in this video. But yeah, let's go ahead and drive this car on the road. We're gonna take it for a spin to see how these lowering SR Performance lowering springs feel on the road. How is it in terms of comfortable, if they're too harsh, and how it drives when you're trying to, you know, do a little bit more spirited driving. So let's go ahead and hop in the car, and we're gonna get on the road. All right, so we are out on the road with these SR Performance lowering springs. So let's do this turn real quick to see how it feels. Good turning radius. The car definitely sits much nicer, but out on the road too, the car feels really good. We're gonna go ahead and try some bumps as well to see if it's gotten a lot stiffer or how is it compared to my Steeda ones. A little bit bump here. You don't really feel it that much. Maybe slight bounce compared to stock, but I would say it's pretty much same as my Steeda springs, where you get a little bit more stiffer suspension. So that's kind of expected. Maybe a little bit more bumps coming up there. So let's try that. Very comfortable. And if the roads are smooth, then you definitely don't feel anything. So it's like a very smooth driving experience. But the real test is really gonna be going over through speed bumps and going through like a little bit, you know, messy roads. So we're gonna try to find a spot where we can try that out and see how these springs really drive, and have some back roads too, just to kind of push the car a little bit. All right, so in terms of how this car is riding, if you hit a pothole, if you're, you know, got rough terrain, then you can kind of feel it. And that's no different than my car. I think with the Steeda springs, it's the same thing. Like right now, we're hitting a pothole. The minor ones, you don't feel it. And if it's a big one, you're going to feel it because the car is lowered. So the suspension obviously is a little bit more stiffer now. But in terms of driving on normal roads, or, you know, if you live somewhere that has like really bad roads, then you gotta be careful with it because you're gonna feel all the bump. But right now, like we're going on the smooth road, the car is smooth. You don't feel anything. It's pretty much like driving a stock car as far as the ride height, or as far as the ride quality is concerned. And if you really push on the back roads, then you can feel the difference. Otherwise, it's pretty much like my Steeda Sport Springs on my S550. This one gives you a little bit more drop. At least the advertised drop is 1.5 versus 1 inch. And if you're coming from a performance pack, to be honest, you might not even notice a difference, because performance pack is a little bit stiffer to begin with. Like this bump right now, like you don't feel it at all. So with the performance pack, like I was coming from a non-performance pack, so I started feeling the ride quality was slightly stiffer, which I didn't mind it, to be honest. But with this, if you already, like he already had performance pack on it. So when you got a performance pack and you go to these springs, you're slightly gonna notice a little bit, but it's not too bad. And the ride quality, I think, like I said, driving it on a normal road, whereas the roads are smooth, you don't feel the car at all. So if you're concerned with the long term, like if you're doing road trips and all of that stuff, you have to worry about it with this. Like I think they did a great job with the SR Performance, where you really enjoy the ride quality. It's comfortable when you want it to be, but if you want to push the car, you can really start seeing the benefits of the Sport Performance, or you can really start seeing the benefit of the SR Performance lowering springs. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video on how the SR Performance lowering springs are. We saw the right comparison between my Steeda Sport Progressive Springs versus this one, and also ride quality as well when we took it out on the road, how it handles, how it rides. Overall, I think it's a very good investment. It's definitely, you know, if you're looking for the Steeda iBog, if you want to go for this one, it's a little bit cheaper, and the ride quality and everything, you don't really feel much of a difference being worse than my Steeda one. So if you're looking to save a few bucks and you still want to get the stance look, like I said, the stance look on these S650 Mustang just looks amazing. So you have to look at it from that standpoint. Like the stance is really good, it's cheaper, and it rides more or less the same than some of the name brands one would do, like the Steeder or Eibach ones. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Comment below which ones are your favorite lowering springs, and of course subscribe to Red 50 for more videos.